Greetings, dear listeners. Today we're diving into the fascinating world of Frank Herbert's Dune Messiah, the thrilling sequel to the groundbreaking science fiction novel, Dune. If you're new to the series, don't worry, I'll give you a brief overview so you can jump right in. Dune Messiah takes place 12 years after the events of Dune, and it follows the story of Paul Atreides, also known as Muad'Dib, who has now become the emperor of the entire known universe. He is revered as a god by the inhabitants of Arrakis, the desert planet where the all-important spice melange is found. Melange, or the spice, grants its users extended life and heightened mental abilities, making it one of the most sought-after substances in the universe. Paul's journey from a young dupe to the emperor was not an easy one. He had to navigate treacherous political landscapes, face deadly enemies, and survive the harsh desert environment of Arrakis. But even after achieving his ultimate goal, Paul finds himself trapped by his own destiny. As the Kwisatz Haderach, a powerful mental and spiritual being predicted by an ancient prophecy, he must deal with the consequences of his actions and the burden of ruling an entire galaxy. Dune Messiah explores themes that are deeply rooted in religion, politics, and ecology. The novel raises questions about power, manipulation, and the price one has to pay for greatness. Paul's struggle with his role as both a godlike figure and a human being is at the core of the story. He grapples with the loss of his loved ones, the weight of expectations, and the fear of losing control over his own mind, all while trying to maintain order in an unstable universe. Herbert's intricate world-building is one of the many reasons why Dune Messiah stands out. The novel delves deeper into the complex society and culture of Arrakis, revealing more about its history, mythology, and inhabitants, known as the Fremen. We also get to explore other planets in the universe, each with its unique characteristics, customs, and challenges. But what sets Dune Messiah apart from its predecessor is its focus on character development. While Dune introduced us to a vast array of characters and plotlines, Dune Messiah narrows down its scope to delve deeper into Paul's psyche and the people surrounding him. We see how his decisions affect those around him, as well as the larger universe. In conclusion, Dune Messiah is a thought-provoking exploration of power, faith, and humanity. It builds upon the foundation laid by Dune, taking us on a journey that challenges our perceptions of heroism and leadership. With its rich world-building, compelling characters, and intricate plotlines, it's no wonder that Frank Herbert's Dune series has left such an indelible mark on the science fiction genre. So sit back, relax, and let me guide you through the fascinating universe of Dune Messiah. I promise you, it's a journey you won't forget. Dune Messiah, the sequel to Frank Herbert's seminal work Dune, is a masterclass in world-building, political intrigue, and philosophical exploration. The book continues the story of Paul Atreides, who has now become Emperor Muad'Dib, and his transformation from a noble duke to a messiah figure for the Fremen people on the planet Arrakis. One of the central themes of Dune Messiah is the burden of leadership and the consequences of power. Paul is haunted by his past actions and the weight of his future responsibilities. He grapples with the knowledge that he has doomed the Fremen to eventual extinction through his manipulation of their religious beliefs, which he used as a tool for political gain. The book explores how even the best intentions can have disastrous consequences, and how power can corrupt even those who wield it with caution. Another major theme in Dune Messiah is the nature of prophecy and destiny. Paul's visions of the future are both a gift and a curse, as he struggles to balance his desire to create a better world with the knowledge that his actions will inevitably lead to tragedy. The book raises questions about whether it is possible to change the course of history, or if we are all mere pawns in a predetermined game of chess. Herbert's writing style is rich and evocative, painting vivid pictures of the desert planet Arrakis and its inhabitants. He deftly explores complex themes through engaging dialogue and intricate plot lines, drawing readers into the world he has created. The book's pacing is deliberate and measured, allowing for deep exploration of characters and their motivations. The characters in Dune Messiah are nuanced and multidimensional, with their own strengths, weaknesses, and desires. Paul is a flawed hero, struggling to come to terms with his own power and the consequences of his actions. Chani, Paul's friend and concubine, is a fierce warrior and loyal partner who challenges Paul to be better and do better for their people. The Emperor's truthsayer, Jessica, Paul's mother, grapples with her own guilt and regret as she watches her son navigate the treacherous waters of political intrigue. Dune Messiah also explores themes of religion, spirituality, and the power of belief. Paul's messianic status among the Fremen is a double-edged sword, granting him immense power but also creating unrealistic expectations that he cannot possibly meet. The book raises questions about the dangers of blind faith and the manipulation of religious beliefs for political gain. In conclusion, Dune Messiah is a thought-provoking and engaging exploration of leadership, power, destiny, and belief. Frank Herbert's rich writing style and complex characters draw readers into a fascinating world, full of intrigue and danger. The book's themes resonate deeply with contemporary issues, making it a timeless classic that continues to inspire and challenge readers today. So, you're diving into Dune Messiah, the sequel to Frank Herbert's groundbreaking novel, Dune. But before we can truly appreciate the second installment, we need to recap the characters and events that made the first book a masterpiece. Dune is set in the distant future, where humanity has spread across the universe, governed by a powerful entity known as the Imperium. At the heart of the story is Paul Atreides, Duke Leto's son and heir, who becomes entangled in a web of political intrigue and prophecy. The Atreides family is moved from their lush home planet to the harsh desert world of Arrakis, also known as Dune. This move is orchestrated by their enemies, the Harkonnens, who seek to destroy them and reclaim control over the production of spice, a valuable resource that extends life and enhances mental abilities. Paul's mother, Jessica, is a member of the Bene Gesserit Sisterhood, a group of women with enhanced physical and mental abilities. Unbeknownst to Paul, she deviates from the Bene Gesserit breeding plan, giving birth to a son instead of a daughter. This decision ultimately sets in motion the events that lead to Paul's rise as the Kwisatz Haderach, a mythical figure prophesied to bring about peace and order. As Paul grapples with his newfound powers and destiny, he becomes the leader of the Fremen, the native people of Arrakis. The Fremen see him as their savior, the Lisan al-Gaib, who will free them from the tyranny of the Imperium and bring water to their desert world. Meanwhile, Paul struggles with his own morality and the weight of his actions. He is forced to make difficult decisions that test his beliefs and challenge his sense of self. As he becomes more powerful, he also becomes more isolated, trapped by his role as a messiah figure. The themes of Dune are complex and multifaceted. At its core, the novel explores the nature of power and the consequences of its pursuit. It challenges the notion of destiny and questions whether individuals can truly shape their own futures. The book also delves into the dangers of blind faith and the importance of questioning authority. Herbert's writing style is rich and descriptive, immersing readers in a world that feels both alien and familiar. His characters are well developed and nuanced, with their own motivations and flaws. The political intrigue and power struggles keep the plot moving at a brisk pace, making Dune a compelling read from start to finish. So, as we embark on Dune Messiah, it's important to remember the events and characters that came before. Paul Atreides, now known as Muad'Dib Dib, has become a powerful figure in the universe, with a devoted following and an empire at his fingertips. But as we've seen in Dune, power comes at a cost, and the choices he makes will have far-reaching consequences for himself and those around him. In conclusion, Dune is a masterful work of science fiction that explores themes of power, destiny, and belief. Its rich world-building, complex characters, and intricate plot make it a timeless classic that continues to inspire and challenge readers today. So, buckle up as we dive into Dune Messiah, where the aftermath of Paul's actions will shape the course of the universe forever. Dune Messiah, Frank Herbert's sequel to Dune, picks up several years after Paul Atreides has become Emperor Muad'Dib Dib and brought peace to the galaxy through his prescient abilities. However, this peace comes at a great cost, as Paul is slowly being consumed by his own power and the weight of his destiny. The story begins with Paul isolated in his palace on Arrakis, plagued by visions of the future that show him bringing about the destruction of humanity. He struggles to find a way to change this fate, even as he is manipulated by those around him who seek to use his power for their own ends. Among these manipulators is Edric, the leader of the Bene Tleilax, a group of genetic engineers and traders who have been at odds with Paul since the events of Dune. They offer him a solution to his problem, a drug called melange, which can suppress his prescient visions and allow him to rule without fear of bringing about the end of humanity. However, this comes at a great cost, as the drug also slowly erodes his sanity and weakens his control over the Empire. Another key player in the story is Chani, Paul's concubine and love interest, who becomes pregnant with their child. However, she is plagued by fears that the child will be a stillbirth, as the use of prescient abilities during conception can have disastrous effects on the fetus. Throughout the story, Paul grapples with his own sense of identity and purpose. He is torn between his desire to protect those he loves and his duty as emperor to maintain order and stability in the galaxy. This inner conflict comes to a head when he learns that the Bene Gesserit, a secretive order of women who have played a key role in shaping galactic history, have been working behind the scenes to manipulate him for their own ends. Paul's struggle with his destiny and identity is further complicated by the arrival of Hate, a man who claims to be a Ghola, or clone, of Paul's deceased mentor and friend Duncan Idaho. Hate has been programmed with all of Duncan's memories and skills, but also carries within him a deep-seated hatred for Paul, whom he blames for his own death. As the story progresses, Paul becomes increasingly reliant on the drug melange to suppress his visions and maintain control over the Empire. However, this only serves to further distance him from those around him, including Chani, who fears that he is losing touch with reality. The climax of the story comes when Paul is confronted by a group of rebels who seek to overthrow him and restore democracy to the galaxy. Led by Farad'n, a young nobleman who has been orphaned by Paul's actions, the rebels stage an attack on Paul's palace, hoping to capture him and use his prescient abilities for their own ends. In the end, Paul sacrifices himself to save Chani and their unborn child, using his remaining strength to destroy the rebels and prevent them from seizing control of the Empire. However, in doing so, he also brings about the very destruction that he had sought to avoid, as his actions lead to a massive jihad that sweeps across the galaxy, leaving untold devastation in its wake. Dune Messiah is a complex and thought-provoking story that explores themes of power, destiny, and belief. Through its rich world-building, intricate plot, and nuanced characters, it challenges readers to question their own assumptions about the nature of power and the consequences of our actions. Ultimately, it serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked power and the importance of remaining true to oneself in the face of overwhelming pressure to conform to societal expectations. Delving into the second part of our exploration of Frank Herbert's Dune Messiah, we find ourselves face to face with Paul Atreides' transformation into a religious figure. This metamorphosis is both intriguing and thought-provoking, as it raises questions about power, identity, and the blurred lines between politics and religion. Paul Atreides, initially introduced as a young, talented duke in Dune, has now become the Kwisatz Haderach, a prophesied figure with extraordinary mental abilities who can see possible futures. This transformation results from Paul's consumption of the spice melange, which grants him access to prescient visions and a deep connection with the ecology of the planet Arrakis. However, as Dune Messiah unfolds, we witness Paul grappling with his newfound religious status among the Fremen people. He reluctantly accepts the mantle of their Messiah, which comes with immense political power over a fanatical populace. The shift from political leader to religious figurehead is not an easy one for Paul, and this internal struggle adds depth to his character and highlights Herbert's skill in crafting complex narratives. Paul's transformation also raises questions about the nature of power and its consolidation through religion. In a society where people are deeply devoted to their beliefs, political leaders often use religion as a tool to manipulate and control. This is precisely what Paul experiences when he becomes the Fremen Messiah. His followers see him as infallible, and any opposition to his rule is met with hostility from the fanatical masses. Moreover, Paul's new role as a religious figure forces him to confront questions about his own identity. He must reconcile his previous self with this new version of himself, one that is worshipped and adored by thousands. This internal conflict creates tension in the narrative, keeping readers on the edge of their seats as they wonder whether Paul will be able to maintain control over his ever-growing religious following. The blurred lines between politics and religion are also a central theme in Dune Messiah. Paul's journey illustrates how easily these two realms can intertwine, leading to the potential for misuse of power and manipulation of beliefs. By combining the two, Paul gains access to unparalleled authority over his followers, an authority that is both exhilarating and terrifying in its scope. Frank Herbert's exploration of Paul Atreides' transformation into a religious figure is a fascinating examination of power dynamics, personal identity, and the complex relationship between politics and religion. By delving deep into these themes, Dune Messiah encourages readers to question their own assumptions about the nature of power and the consequences of our actions. Ultimately, it serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked power and the importance of remaining true to oneself in the face of overwhelming pressure to conform to societal expectations. In conclusion, Paul Atreides' transformation into a religious figure is a captivating aspect of Frank Herbert's Dune Messiah, one that invites introspection and critical thinking about our world today. By exploring the blurred lines between politics and religion, as well as the dangers of unchecked power, Herbert crafts an engaging narrative that leaves readers pondering its themes long after they have turned the final page. Sure, in Dune Messiah by Frank Herbert, we delve deeper into the political machinations against Paul and his jihad. After reading the first book, Dune, we see Paul Atreides sitting on the Emperor's throne, ruling over the planet Arrakis, and leading a holy war, known as the Jihad, in the name of his religion, the Islam-inspired faith of the Fremen. However, as time goes by, Paul realizes that he has become a pawn in a larger game of power, where everyone wants to control or destroy him. One of the main political forces against Paul is the Spacing Guild, an organization that controls interstellar travel through its navigators' prescient abilities. The Guild sees Paul's jihad as a threat to their monopoly on space travel and seeks to undermine his power by manipulating events behind the scenes. For instance, they finance and support Alia Atreides, Paul's sister, who becomes a powerful figure in her own right and challenges Paul's authority. Another group that opposes Paul is the Bene Gesserit, a secretive sisterhood of women with extraordinary mental and physical abilities. The Bene Gesserit see Paul as an aberration, a male who has gained access to their ancestral memories through his mother's genetic manipulation. They fear that Paul's existence will disrupt their breeding program, which aims to create a male Bene Gesserit, known as the Kwisatz Haderach. To this end, they work to undermine Paul's role by supporting opposing factions and spreading disinformation about him. Meanwhile, Paul himself becomes increasingly aware of the dangers of unchecked power. He realizes that his jihad has caused widespread destruction and suffering, and he struggles with his role as a religious and political leader. As a result, Paul begins to withdraw from the world, hoping to find a way to end the jihad without causing further harm. However, Paul's efforts to end the jihad are complicated by the fact that he has become a symbol of hope and liberation for millions of people. His followers see him as a messiah who will lead them to a better future, and they are willing to fight and die for his cause. This creates a paradox for Paul, as he cannot simply abandon his followers without causing even more chaos and violence. Herbert's portrayal of the political maneuverings against Paul is both fascinating and thought-provoking. He shows how different groups with competing interests can work together to bring down a common enemy, even if they have their own agendas. At the same time, Herbert raises questions about the nature of power and leadership. He suggests that even well-intentioned leaders can become trapped by their own success, as their followers come to expect more than they can deliver. Moreover, Herbert's depiction of the jihad highlights the dangers of conflating politics and religion. He shows how easily a religious movement can be co-opted by political forces, leading to violence and oppression. At the same time, Herbert suggests that there may be no easy answers when it comes to balancing the demands of faith and reason. In conclusion, Dune Messiah is a rich and complex novel that explores the political maneuverings against Paul and his jihad. Through its intricate plotting and thought-provoking themes, Herbert invites us to reflect on the dangers of unchecked power, the blurred lines between politics and religion, and the challenges of leadership in a rapidly changing world. Whether you're a fan of science fiction or just looking for a challenging read, Dune Messiah is well worth your time. Delving deeper into Frank Herbert's Dune Messiah, our focus shifts towards the introduction of new characters, particularly Scytale and the Tleilaxu Masters. These enigmatic figures play a pivotal role in the narrative, shedding light on themes of manipulation, control, and the consequences of power. Scytale, an ingenious and cunning character, is revealed to be the leader of the Tleilaxu contingent on Arrakis during Paul's reign. The Tleilaxu are a secretive, religiously fanatical race known for their mastery over advanced genetic engineering techniques. Scytale and his fellow masters represent a formidable force in the universe, one that has been subtly shaping events from behind the scenes. The introduction of Scytale and the Tleilaxu Masters raises questions about manipulation and control. As creators of the face dancers, humanoid mimics who can perfectly imitate others, they possess a powerful tool for infiltration and subterfuge. This revelation casts a shadow over previous events, suggesting that many supposed allies may have been Tleilaxu agents all along. Furthermore, the Tleilaxu Masters' control over the production of the spice melange gives them significant leverage over Paul and his empire. The spice is essential for navigating the universe and accessing prescient visions, making it a potent weapon in the hands of those who can manipulate its supply. The character of Scytale also serves to explore the challenges of leadership in a rapidly changing world. As an advisory figure to Paul, he embodies the dangers of unchecked power and the blurred lines between politics and religion. Through their interactions, Herbert highlights the complexities of decision-making when faced with deceitful opponents who exploit every vulnerability. Moreover, Scytale's presence introduces a moral conundrum regarding the nature of humanity. By creating face dancers, the Tleilaxu Masters challenge the very definition of what it means to be human. This raises ethical questions about the limits of genetic engineering and its impact on personal identity. In conclusion, the introduction of Scytale and the Tleilaxu Masters in Dune Messiah brings forth new dimensions to Frank Herbert's universe. These characters not only challenge Paul's leadership, but also prompt readers to reflect on broader themes of manipulation, control, and the boundaries of humanity. As we continue exploring this rich narrative, it is crucial to keep these complex dynamics in mind as they significantly contribute to the unfolding plot and the deeper meaning of the story. Delving deeper into Dune Messiah, the first sequel of Frank Herbert's groundbreaking Dune series, we encounter a fascinating exploration of themes such as manipulation, control, and humanity's boundaries. This rich narrative not only builds upon the world introduced in its predecessor, but also challenges readers to reflect on power dynamics and their consequences. One major theme that runs through Dune Messiah is the struggle between free will and manipulation. Protagonist Paul Atreides, now Emperor Paul Muad'Dib, grapples with the foreseeing abilities bestowed upon him by his Bene Gesserit heritage. This prescient vision, however, often places him in a passive role as events unfold according to their predetermined courses. Characters such as Chani and Princess Irulan try to guide Paul back towards a more active participation in shaping his own destiny. Manipulation is also evident in the complex web of political intrigue woven throughout the story. The Tleilaxu, Bene Gesserit, and Spacing Guild engage in covert machinations aimed at controlling Paul or exploiting his powers for their gain. This constant maneuvering highlights the precarious balance of power in this universe, where alliances can shift rapidly, and trust is a scarce commodity. Furthermore, Dune Messiah pushes readers to question the boundaries of humanity. Paul's transformation into an almost godlike figure raises ethical dilemmas about the consequences of possessing immense power. Through this exploration, Herbert asks whether it is possible for individuals like Paul to remain human when faced with such overwhelming influence. Another compelling theme is the impact of religion on society and politics. As Paul's legend grows, he becomes both a religious figurehead and a political pawn. The tension between these dual roles contributes significantly to the narrative's unfolding, prompting readers to consider the potential consequences when religion and politics intertwine. The character of Hate Duncan Idaho serves as an interesting study of identity and memory. Reawakened with false memories implanted by the Tleilaxu, Hate embodies the question of selfhood. Are we defined by our experiences or the memories that shape us? This exploration adds depth to the narrative and encourages introspection on the nature of personal identity. Dune Messiah also continues the environmental discussions initiated in Dune. Through characters like Stilgar and Chani, Herbert emphasizes the importance of preserving ecological balance, particularly in fragile environments like Arrakis. This theme remains relevant today, serving as a reminder of our responsibility towards our planet. In conclusion, Dune Messiah offers a multifaceted examination of themes such as manipulation, control, religion, identity, and environmental preservation. By exploring these topics in conjunction with its engaging plot and well-developed characters, Frank Herbert creates a captivating narrative that resonates long after reading. The book's thought-provoking nature encourages readers to reflect on their own beliefs and values, making Dune Messiah not just an excellent science fiction novel, but also a profound philosophical exploration. Absolutely, in Dune Messiah, Frank Herbert masterfully explores the dangers of power and religion through his intricate plotting and character development. The novel serves as a cautionary tale about what happens when individuals or groups accumulate too much power and use it to manipulate others, particularly in religious contexts. At the center of the story is Paul Atreides, who has become the emperor of the known universe after his triumphant ascension to the throne in Dune. However, as Messiah, he finds himself trapped by his own mythology and the expectations placed upon him by his followers. Paul's power is so great that it threatens to consume him, leading him down a dark path towards tyranny and despotism. Herbert illustrates how religion can be used as a tool for control, manipulation, and domination. The fanatical Fremen of Dune have elevated Paul to the status of a god, and he struggles to reconcile his own humanity with their expectations. As Messiah, Paul is burdened by the weight of his people's hopes and dreams, and he finds himself making decisions that are not always in their best interests. Herbert also explores how power can corrupt even the most virtuous individuals. Paul becomes increasingly paranoid and isolated as he tries to maintain control over his vast empire. He relies on spies, assassins, and other unsavory characters to do his bidding, further eroding his own moral compass. One of the most interesting aspects of Dune Messiah is the way that Herbert portrays power dynamics within religious organizations. The Bene Gesserit, a secretive order of women with psychic abilities, are particularly noteworthy in this regard. They have long manipulated events from behind the scenes, using their influence to shape the course of history. However, as Paul's power grows, they begin to lose control over him and resort to increasingly desperate measures to maintain their own relevance. Another example of religious manipulation is the Reverend Mother Gaius Helen Mohiam, who serves as a mentor figure for Paul. She is a member of the Bene Gesserit and has played a key role in shaping Paul's destiny from an early age. However, her true motivations are never entirely clear, leaving readers to wonder whether she genuinely cares for Paul or is simply using him for her own ends. Herbert also explores the dangers of blind faith and unquestioning obedience. The Fremen's devotion to Paul is so strong that they are willing to follow him even when he makes decisions that go against their interests. This creates a dangerous situation in which Paul's power is almost unchecked, leading to a cycle of violence and oppression. In conclusion, Dune Messiah is a thought-provoking exploration of the dangers of power and religion. Through his richly drawn characters and intricate plotting, Frank Herbert illustrates how even well-intentioned individuals can become trapped by their own mythology and the expectations placed upon them. The novel serves as a cautionary tale about the importance of questioning authority, resisting manipulation, and maintaining one's moral compass in the face of overwhelming power. Whether you are a fan of science fiction or simply interested in exploring complex philosophical questions, Dune Messiah is a must-read. One of the most striking aspects of Dune Messiah is its exploration of the burden of leadership and the loss of humanity that can come with it. The main character, Paul Atreides, has become the powerful and feared emperor of the known universe, but his rise to power has taken a heavy toll on him. Throughout the book, we see Paul grappling with the weight of his decisions and the consequences they have on those around him. He is haunted by visions of the future, plagued by guilt over the deaths he has caused, and increasingly isolated from those who once cared for him. Despite his best efforts, he finds himself unable to escape the role that fate has thrust upon him. Paul's struggle with leadership is further complicated by his own loss of humanity. As he becomes more powerful, he begins to lose touch with his emotions, his relationships, and even his own identity. He is forced to make difficult choices, often sacrificing the needs of those he loves for the greater good. In doing so, he risks becoming the very thing he once fought against, a ruthless and uncaring ruler. Herbert's portrayal of Paul's burden and loss of humanity serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of power and the importance of remaining true to oneself. It reminds us that with great power comes great responsibility, and that even the most well-intentioned leaders can become lost in their pursuit of power. Furthermore, Dune Messiah also explores the theme of manipulation and control. Paul is constantly surrounded by those who seek to use him for their own gain, including his own sister Alia, who has been possessed by an ancient and malevolent being. He must navigate these treacherous waters carefully, using his intelligence and cunning to outmaneuver his enemies while remaining true to his principles. Throughout the book, Paul's struggle with leadership and manipulation serves as a reminder of the importance of questioning authority and resisting manipulation. It encourages us to think critically about those in power, and to be wary of those who seek to control us for their own gain. In conclusion, Dune Messiah is a thought-provoking and deeply philosophical book that explores the burden of leadership, the loss of humanity, manipulation, and control. Through its portrayal of Paul Atreides' struggle with power, it encourages us to question authority, resist manipulation, and remain true to ourselves. Whether you are a fan of science fiction or simply interested in exploring complex philosophical questions, Dune Messiah is a must-read. Its rich and nuanced storytelling, as well as its memorable characters and themes, make it a truly unforgettable book that will leave a lasting impression on anyone who reads it. Sure thing! Here's the section on Dune Messiah by Frank Herbert, focusing on its comparison to Dune and foreshadowing in the larger series. If you're familiar with Dune, the first book in Frank Herbert's epic series, then you might be surprised to find that Dune Messiah is a very different kind of story. While Dune was an epic adventure filled with action, politics, and intrigue, Dune Messiah is a more introspective and philosophical novel that delves deep into the consequences of power and destiny. One of the most striking differences between the two books is their tone and pacing. While Dune was a sweeping space opera with a large cast of characters and multiple storylines, Dune Messiah is much more focused and intimate. The narrative follows Paul Atreides, now the Emperor of the known universe, as he grapples with the weight of his decisions and the consequences they have on those around him. Another difference is the role of religion in the story. In Dune, religion was a powerful force that shaped the politics and culture of the various factions vying for power. In Dune Messiah, however, religion becomes even more central to the plot as Paul struggles with his own messianic status and the expectations placed upon him by his followers. Despite these differences, there are also many similarities between the two books. Both Dune and Dune Messiah explore complex themes of power, destiny, and identity, asking questions about what it means to be human in a vast and uncaring universe. They also feature rich world-building and intricate plotting, drawing readers into their respective worlds with vivid descriptions and compelling characters. One of the most interesting aspects of Dune Messiah is how it foreshadows later events in the series. While it's technically the second book in the series, it feels more like a bridge between Dune and the subsequent novels. Without giving away any spoilers, there are several moments in Dune Messiah that hint at larger forces at work, setting the stage for the epic battles and political intrigue to come. One character who embodies this sense of foreshadowing is Chani, Paul's concubine and eventual wife. In Dune, Chani was a fierce warrior and loyal companion to Paul, but in Dune Messiah, she becomes even more central to the plot. Through her eyes, we see the personal toll that Paul's decisions have on those around him, as well as the first hints of larger forces at work beyond the borders of the known universe. Another character who plays a key role in Dune Messiah is Duncan Idaho, Paul's loyal mentat and friend. In this book, we learn more about Duncan's past and his own struggles with identity and loyalty, setting the stage for his eventual transformation into something much more than human. Overall, Dune Messiah is a fascinating continuation of the Dune saga, offering readers a deeper and more introspective look at the characters and themes introduced in the first book. While it may be a departure from the epic space opera style of Dune, it's still a must-read for fans of science fiction or anyone interested in exploring complex philosophical questions. With its rich world-building, intricate plotting, and memorable characters, Dune Messiah is a truly unforgettable book that will leave a lasting impression on anyone who reads it. Frank Herbert's Dune Messiah is a book that has had a profound impact on science fiction literature. Its publication in 1969 marked a turning point in the genre, as it explored complex philosophical questions and ideas that were not typically associated with sci-fi at the time. Herbert's writing was unique in its ability to combine elements of philosophy, religion, politics, and ecology into a single narrative. This approach allowed him to create a richly textured world that felt both alien and familiar at the same time. The universe of Dune Messiah is one where politics, religion, and technology intersect in complex ways, creating a complex web of power dynamics and intrigue. One of the most notable aspects of Dune Messiah is its exploration of the nature of leadership and power. The book's protagonist, Paul Atreides, is a messianic figure who has been elevated to the status of a god by his followers. However, as he grapples with the weight of this responsibility, he begins to question the true nature of power and whether it is even possible for him to bring about the change he desires. This exploration of leadership and power is particularly relevant in today's world, where issues of governance and authority continue to be hotly debated. By examining these questions through the lens of a fantastical universe, Herbert invites readers to consider them from a new perspective, one that is free from the constraints of our own reality. Another theme that runs throughout Dune Messiah is the relationship between humanity and technology. The book takes place in a future where humans have colonized other planets and developed advanced technologies that allow them to survive in harsh environments. However, these technologies also have unintended consequences, leading to new challenges and dilemmas for the characters. Herbert's portrayal of technology is nuanced and thought-provoking, challenging readers to consider the potential benefits and drawbacks of technological advancement. This theme is particularly relevant today, as we continue to grapple with issues related to artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and climate change. Beyond its themes and ideas, Dune Messiah is also a beautifully written book that features some of the most memorable characters in all of science fiction. Paul Atreides is a complex and conflicted protagonist, one who is both revered and feared by those around him. His journey from a young man struggling to come to terms with his newfound power to a seasoned leader grappling with the weight of his decisions is captivating and thought-provoking. The world of Dune Messiah is also brought to life through its richly drawn supporting characters, each of whom has their own motivations, desires, and fears. From the cunning Emperor Shadon IV to the loyal Lady Jessica, these characters add depth and complexity to the narrative, making it a truly immersive experience for readers. In conclusion, Dune Messiah is a book that continues to resonate with readers today because of its thought-provoking themes, memorable characters, and rich world-building. Frank Herbert's ability to combine elements of philosophy, religion, politics, and ecology into a single narrative has had a lasting impact on the science fiction genre, inspiring countless other writers to explore similar ideas in their own work. If you are a fan of science fiction or simply enjoy exploring complex philosophical questions, then Dune Messiah is a book that should not be missed. Its timeless themes and unforgettable characters will leave a lasting impression on anyone who reads it, making it a true classic of the genre.